Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Louis Shine, and as promised today, I will be talking about how to build an alumni database for your program. Now, this is not just pertaining to basketball, although because I've been a basketball coach and basketball has been my life pretty much. A lot of what I've done, played, coached, a lot of different, different things that I've done within the game. There's a lot of reference that I'll give to basketball, but this goes beyond like basketball. This can go into any sport. This can also go into like business, like, if you have a company and you've had people come through that company and worked at that company and you want to do some kind of alumni type of thing, where you get that information and invite people back. It can happen like that, but primarily I will be discussing it based on sports, and a lot of my examples will come from the game of basketball. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I know people will be filing in. I have some coaches that will be on as well. If you are getting this, please share it. And so we'll get started. So how to build an alumni database. This is something that is near and dear to my heart. As I began my tenure and coaching different levels of basketball, there were a few times where a few stops that I had where when I got to that place, there was not an existing alumni database. And so because of that, my mind was like, hey, who's contacting the alums who have been through here, whether that's players, whether that's coaches, whether that's managers, anybody who has had anything to do with this program, who's in contact with those people. And so, I took upon the responsibility of being that person with, several programs that I was a part of, to get that jump started for that program. Sometimes in those programs, it's not something that's just immediately like there, like, it's not automatic, it's something that you have to jumpstart yourself. And I'm going to talk about a lot of the benefits that come along with having an alumni database for your program, and actually alumni program if you want to take it a little further. So I took it upon myself to jumpstart this part of the program. And so I'm going to walk you all through how I did that. All right. So when I got to one particular program, I had to get this jump started. And so this is how I got it jump started. So first thing I did was I tried to get my hands on the information of who are all the people that have been through this program. So one of the first places I looked was online. So when I went online on our team's website, our particular team had rosters on the team's website dating back to like 2008. So that was the first place I started. And so what I did was I opened an Excel spreadsheet and I started going through those rosters year by year and logging every player, every coach that has ever been a part of the program. And of course, there were some gaps there. There were some people taken off the website at times or whatever. Maybe they transferred or whatever. There was some of the information was missing. So I logged all the information that I could find in terms of the player, the year that they played, and then the coaches and the year that they coached. And so that took me a little bit of time. That might have took me like a day or two just to get that information. Now, the fact that I knew that the school was in existence, past the 2008, I had to track even deeper. So I knew the website because they did not have an internet website until 2008. So I know in being in basketball that media guides were the popular thing. Okay. So I started searching for media guides, and what do you know? There was like a stack of media guides in one of the offices. So I went to one of the offices, got all those media guides, and then I started tracking all the players and those media guys from year to year, and then whatever the coaches and whatever other information that I could find in those media guides, which had a ton of other information like record keep breakers and things like of that nature. And so I went through the media guides. And then after I was done with the media guides, I touched base with, someone that worked in our athletic department that, kind of had the skinny on the names and the people and the history and things of that nature. So I tried to get all of the information I could on players and coaches and whoever was a part of the programs as far back as I could. So then after I did that, I said, you know what? What about the alumni relations office? Because a lot of colleges, especially high school, you may have that, but a lot of colleges have alumni relations offices where they'll have even more information on who was at that school, who was at that college, and who was a part of whichever basketball team that you were coaching. And so I was a part of the women's basketball. So they gave me even more information, which gave me players and coaches that were like far back, if I can remember correctly, like in the 60s, So I was like, okay, cool. So I started tracking all this information on one spreadsheet. So now I was done with my search of like players and coaches. So people, like who was a part of this, who was a part of playing for this school as far back as I can go to the beginning of his existence if I could. Now, there was also, like I said, there were some gaps. So I'm going to get into the gaps here in a second. Gaps meaning there were people that they were just not on the roster. They were not in the book, even though they might have played there. Sometimes when like people transfer and things of that nature, like the information is not there, or maybe it's not recorded correctly, whatever the case. But there were some gaps because I found that out later when I actually got information from other people, So then once I got the names, I had a spreadsheet and I had all the information on it. So now what I did was I began to label that Excel spreadsheet out, which today I like to do Google Sheets because anybody can access it if you share it with them. It's a little easier, and maybe Excel does that, currently, but I know Google Sheets has really worked really good for me in that type of thing. So once I got all their names and everything, I started to outfit my Google Sheet document. So now name, I was looking for their phone number. I was looking for their current address. Of course, we had the year that they played, or, just any other information that, social media handle, any other information that you yourself as a coach will actually use on this Google Sheet document. Make sure you put that on there. For me, I wanted their number. I wanted their address because I wanted to call them. I wanted to be able to send them things in the mail. I wanted to know the year that they played because that's important information. Because now if I do things where I invite teams back, or I want to reference them or send them certain things based on the year they played, or connect them with other people that were a part of that year. When they were there, so especially like for alumni weekends and things of that nature. So that's important information. Now, social media handle is very important because I was with the programs that I was a part of, the college basketball programs, I ran the social media. Well, social media today is just huge in connecting with people. So I wanted to have their social media handles, and I was, the important platforms was Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at the time. Now it's X. And then any other ones that you would like to track. But those were like the main three: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And Twitter especially, that was huge. But Instagram, I found it to be more successful in connecting with players. So when I was able to get all the information, the media guide, the online, of course, that didn't have number or address, but athletic department and the alumni relations office would have phone numbers and addresses. So I went ahead and gathered what I could from them. But then there was gaps where I still didn't have phone numbers. So what I had to do was I had to start going to our Instagram and looking up players, former players. And as I looked those players up, they had pages, and then I would just simply send them a DM. Hey, my name is Coach Lewis Shine. I'm the new head coach. At the time, it was Central State University or Winthrop University. Love to connect with you. You were an intricate part of what went on here, and us as new coaches, we want to make that connection with you to connect you to the program and let you know of some of the great things that are going on here. Just something of that nature. You can have a script, like if you're giving this to an assistant coach or whatever the case, a manager, a dobo, you can have this script ready for them so that they can just read it off, or they can just type it or copy and paste that in a DM or an email. If you end up getting their email, so your phone number, address, email address, if you can go about it either way. I was able to call some people. I was able to email some people. I was able to DM some people. And so I was able to connect with a lot of former players right through DM when I was doing it. And they connected, and we got on a phone call. And then they were very helpful, because a lot of them were like, hey, we haven't heard from anyone, since we played there, and this is awesome or whatnot. That's good responses. You want those responses from them because they feel a part of the program with just you reaching out. And that's one of the beautiful things about connecting with alums. And we'll go into that here in a little bit. So now once I start connecting with the alums, a lot of the alums would give me information for the other players. Like, some of the other players, I didn't have phone numbers, but they were like, oh yeah, here's such and such phone number. And so I was able to talk to a lot of the former players to get the other players' information. So now that was very, very powerful, because other than the alumni office or the athletic department, sometimes they didn't have everything, but I was able to connect with the other players to get as much as I could. And then as I got on calls, even more information came where I was able to connect with these different players. I found that a lot of these players were maybe still local. Some of them were abroad. Some of them had businesses. Some of them were even playing pro. Especially the ones that are playing pro is so important, because now if you're coaching players and you're looking to give them an opportunity or help them to get to the next level in playing basketball at the pro level, or if you're high school at the college level, it's so important to connect with those players that played for you or came through that program at some point that are at the next level, whether that's the next level is college or the next level is pros, because that is like pure, what I want to call it. That's pure. That helps your program so much. It's motivation. I would have a lot of those former athletes, some of them were pros at the time, that would come back and speak before the game or connect with our players at halftime, to be in the locker room, just to be around. They would come to practices. They would, send in videos, do video calls as a pregame, motivational talk, or after or before one of our film sessions. So there was a lot of things that can take place because of that. And so that was awesome to do, because sometimes you're looking for ways to encourage your players or really pour into them or motivate them, and you really have it at your fingertips, which is called a alumni database, because you have so many players that naturally they went through your program and they already have a vested interest to give back, only if you just ask, because they poured, their heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into that program already. They've been that way. And so now to reach back to encourage one of your players that's going through now, a lot of times that's just simply asking them to do it, and they'll do it. And so it was so fun to do this, because not only was I able to meet a lot of these alums for the first time, like, of course, speaking to them, but just to get in their worlds and ask them how it was when they were here, and they were excited to hear from us. And it was just amazing. It was just so much synergy, like just, swirling around in those kind of phone calls, video calls, and things of that nature. And so that part is amazing. So the first part that I'm just explaining is just the basic setup of your database, just getting all the information that you can, name, age, birthdays, because that's huge, because you may want to celebrate a former player on social media, so birthday, of course you have your height and all that kind of stuff. If your player is at the next level, maybe a line of where are they. So one person might own a company, the other person might be playing pro, maybe a column for that. So you can just know, so that if you need to use that at any point, you can use that. It was so important because I had players that were playing pro. I also had players that own businesses and things of that nature. And then naturally you would have players that may need internships, or they're looking, to go to the next level. So you have a player that's already at that level that can talk to them, or a player that owns a business or works for someone that can open the door to the internship. Those things are so important. And sometimes coaches are scrambling trying to get this kind of stuff in their program, but you don't really have to look far. It's right there in your alumni database. All right. So getting all your information, making sure that you have, basic information, email, phone number, social media handles, address, because I'll cover that in a minute, sending things to them. That's so important. A lot of times you can do that through campus mail, which a lot of times comes at no charge, So that's important. But just getting all the information laid out in one document that you are looking for about that player. Okay. Next, how can you connect with your alumni database people? All the alums that have come through your program, how can you connect with them? Let me get a swig real quick. So one of the ways that I found to be very, very exciting for me was, how am I going to connect with them? So, of course, you got your DMs, you got your phone number. You got the phone numbers that you can get from the alums. You also can get their emails and their addresses. So those are your main connect points, as well as the social media handles. Okay. And so how do I connect with them? So here's a few things that I did to connect with the alum. So, of course, I called them, the numbers that I had, I called them to connect with them. The emails that I had, of course, I would send an email. But here's another thing with email. Other than general information, so we would send general information out to them. So let's just say there was homecoming coming up and we were doing certain things, which I did do some of that. Excuse me. And I'll talk about that. Or maybe we're on a 7-game win streak, so we might want to let the alums know, hey, that's what we're doing. Or we may want to let the alums know, hey, we're going to be in a city near you playing a game. Can you come out? So your email, phone number, those are your really main, everyday type of connection that you can have with your alums. Also social media, because you'll be posting things like that. So you want to follow all of them on your team's social media page, and hopefully they'll follow you back. A lot of them, no problem, they'll follow me back. But those are your main sources of information. You want to get to your alums everything that's going on with your program and invite them out so that they can have that right of refusal. Like, man, I want to go, or I can't make it. Give them that opportunity. Also, a newsletter, maybe an alumni report, alumni newsletter that gives them the rundown every month to what's going on in the program. So whether you're having an elite camp, you're having, some kind of team camp in the summer, or maybe your players are working out in the summer, or they're going to be at a tournament, or whatever the case, or maybe you have you going to a tournament in the Bahamas, or whatever the case. Any way you can connect with them and help have them be a part of what you're doing, take advantage of that, because you want to make your alums feel that they're a part of your program. And it only takes the smallest of things. I'll give you an example. I played at Miami, Ohio. And I played at Miami, Ohio, literally 28 years ago, okay? And to this day, there's been different coaching staffs in there, but I can't really name one that has not connected with their alums. Now, the current coaching staff, which they did so amazing last year, the program, they went so far, so proud. I was a proud Red Hawk. I was cheering the whole way. And so they do a great job. I get text messages. I get information from the basketball program about what they're doing, whether that's a golf outing, whether that's alumni weekend, whether that's to get on Zoom calls with the coaches or whatever. Like, I always get information, and I was a walk-on. Like, it's amazing, and it makes me feel so good because I was a part of the program 28 years ago, and they still contact me. Like, that's awesome. It just makes you feel good, makes you feel like you're a part of something, and it makes me want to support. Like, it's awesome. It does something awesome. So I've seen both sides of this. I can remember when I was coaching at Central State, and I used to have, for a long time, I had a pair of practice shorts that we used to wear in practice. And so over time, they just like faded. And I mean, you couldn't even see the Miami. It said Miami basketball, and it was like an old school pair, like the mesh. And it was just, they were so worn. And I was like, man, I was like, let me call, which I need to do that again because I haven't, all my stuff, I just wore out, since I'm about to tell you the story I'm about to tell you. So 2017, 2018, around there, I contacted Miami, Ohio, and I said, hey, I'm a proud alum. I've had gear. My gear is just worn out. Do you guys do anything for the alums like that played there in terms of sending gear or anything like that? Because I would love to continue to represent, my alma mater. He was like, the guy I talked to with the program, he's like, no problem. Man, they asked me my sizes, all that. And, man, the rest was history. It was probably a couple weeks later. I got this big box of gear. I'm talking about big box of gear. It had practice shorts. It had, T-shirts, like, dry fits, hoodie. I mean, it was just like a nice package. And man, I'm trying to tell you, it just made me feel awesome. Like, and so when you think about giving back or supporting your team or sending them recruits or whatever that might be, like, I'm an advocate for that because of how they treat me, And so when you flip it back around, and now you're talking about the coach that's doing it to an alum. Like, I've been the alum getting those benefits and those things from my alma mater. So I know how that feels. So that's why, like, this, I love talking about this and teaching about this because it's super amazing, the benefits. So, and you might say this, I'll throw this in. You might say, hey, I don't have you might say you don't have the budget. Well, coach, we don't have the budget to send all that gear or whatever. I got an answer for you. So one of the schools that I coached at, we didn't have a budget either to like just send practice gear to all of the athletes that ever played here for our program. So, and I know we didn't have the budget. I asked about it. Didn't have the budget for that. So I was like, you know what? Let me get creative. So what I did was I took like an afternoon. First, I looked at our stash to see if we had any like old gear, old shirts, any posters, anything like that. So I pulled what we had. So then I went to all the other programs in the Coliseum at the time. I was at Winthrop University, and I went to soccer. I went to volleyball. I went to the main athletic office. I think I might have went over to golf and tennis, and I just said, hey, guys, hey, I'm trying to do some things for our alums right now. We're not able to produce a lot, but I'm just going around and just gathering up any old gear that you guys have, any old posters or anything that you may just have on your hands you're trying to get rid of that we can send to our alums. I came back with a boatload stash of just random things, pens that you put on your suits, a lot of different things that people just, T-shirts, all kinds of stuff. So then I had all of that in my office, magnets of our schedule, all that kind of stuff. So once I had that in my office, all of the people that I got all the information for our former players, I started getting manila envelopes, and through campus mail, we were able to just give them our packages and they will send them out. They probably cost, but for us, we didn't, it may have cost, but it was the least of what we could do because we didn't have to, or we're not in the position to pay a boatload of money. So a package to our alums, that was feasible financially. So I would package things up and just with a little letterhead with my card. Hey, how you doing, Amanda? Or whatever. This is Coach Shine. Just wanted to send you a quick package, let you know we're thinking about you here at women's basketball at Winthrop University, or whatever the case. And some of those players would get those packages and you would have thought I sent them a Bentley because they were so excited. They responded. They was like, oh, thank you so much. This and that. And I mean, I was like, man, what if we had really had a budget? You know what I'm saying? Because I see coaches now, they send them like replica championship rings and all kinds of stuff now, So a budget for this is amazing because we're going to get to why here in a minute. So I would send these things out. They would be so excited. And man, it would produce such the greatest responses. And then by the time I would get off of a phone call with one of them about their package or whatever the case, their knee-jerk response would be, let me know what you guys need. Let me know what I can do for the program. I did not try to get that out of them. It naturally came out of them, And that's what giving does. When you give and you bless people, and with you all being coaches or maybe a business owner, it's natural now because they've come through your business. They've come through your program. And so it's very natural to give them something. And then in return, they may come back and say, hey, what can I do for you guys? And so I experienced that. And these are things that I just stumbled upon because I was just trying to build this and connect with our alums. But along the way, I stumbled on so many just nuggets that were just like valuable information that now I just teach to coaches all over. And it's amazing. It's amazing how it all happens. Another side note, back to what we talked about before, another place where I got information about who played in our program or coaches that were a part of the program, I went and looked on our Hall of Fame, our wall, and I got people that were on there that I didn't get from online or in our media guides or whatever, that their names were listed on there with women's basketball. And so I took those names down and I began to contact them. And so it was so amazing. And we'll wrap up here in the next few minutes because I could talk a whole day on this kind of stuff. But it was so amazing because now we had gifts going out to the alums. We had certain communications going out to them, whether that's email, telephone. We had them on our social media and celebrating them. So like maybe one of our former players might have a birthday. We will post something about them, and just connecting everything 360 full circle for that program. So some of the things that happened, our alums began to come out to the games. They would travel an hour plus just to come to the games because we were connecting with them. And I ran into one of them that was in the hallway one day before the game. And I was like, oh, hey, and they came to the game. It was just awesome. I even had it to where we would have alums and we tried to coordinate to where when we have away games, we invite the alums in those cities to come out to those games, which that helps the alumni connection, and it helps you win games because you got a supporting cast on the road. Also, I had alums come back to be around the locker room and speak and come to practice. And there were some of the pros that would come back and they would actually play and work out with the players. Also, some of the players would come back to get their workouts in. So I had one of my former players that got drafted into the WNBA. she would come back in the summer and work out, and I would run her through workouts. And you want to open that door. That's an open door. Let your former alums that are playing, invite them to come back and work out at your facilities. Like, that's one of the greatest tie-ins you can have. That's awesome. And then finally, and this is last but not least, homecoming. It's a natural way to get people back that were part of your program. So one year what we did was we had a women's basketball tent, invited all the alums back to the program, to homecoming, invited them to homecoming, and they would come by the table, sign in, be around the players, and it was just amazing because now our players, it was like they had big brothers and big sisters that would come back and be around them, and they looked up to them and helped them through, and it was just so amazing. So in summary, that an alumni database, if I was to be a part of a basketball program today and I went back into coaching, that would be one of the very first things that I would want to get my hands on because it's so important to your program. Motivation for your program, fundraising for your program, support for your program, attendance, morale, the loyalness of them being a part of your program. There's so many different things that having an alumni database covers for your program. If you are a program, your coach out there, head coach, assistant coach, and your program does not currently have an active alumni database, I am telling you, this is so essential. And you might say, hey, what does this have to do with winning? It has everything to do with winning, because let me tell you what, in my years of being a coach and being a player and being a general manager, a team owner, a lot of what happens on the court, the wins on the court, is only 10% of the 100. 90% of winning happens before you even get on the court. And it's all these little things. It's all these little things. Alumni database, how you run your social media, your fundraising, your support for your program. Like, all those things matter. Because if you don't have support, if you don't have budget for certain things, then that affects other things as well. So I would like to, and I would absolutely love to connect with programs out there. If you are a coach, if you are athletic director, if you are in any sport, in any team program, this even includes business, and you're saying, you know what, I hear what you're saying, I would love to set up an alumni database for what we're doing, because you feel like it might help you. If that's you, reach out to me, DM me, leave a message on this video and say, hey, I would love to connect with you about that, and I will contact you and we can set things up to see how I can help you further. So I just wanted to get on here and talk about this. I had a few coaches reach out about it and wanted to do this. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, and I have had it work. And when I tell you that 90% of winning happens before you even get on the court, I know it for a fact because I've been a part of 2 championship teams, one as a college basketball player, and then one as a college basketball coach. I've been a part of 3 20-game win seasons, 2 20-8 win seasons, and 1 23-6 winning season. And I know these types of things had everything to do with the success we had on the court. So I would love to connect with you. If you're watching this, please connect with me. Let me know how you liked it. Leave a comment. Please share this, and I would love to connect with you. So be looking forward to your responses. Thanks for tuning in today, and I will see you on the next one.